Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. We welcome to Online Teaching Academy, Ekaliva. In the last class, we have studied about the root system. Now, we are going to study about the ascending aerial part of the axis of the plant, what we call it as a stem. It develops from the plumule of embryo and it has nodes and internodes, and these nodes bear axillary buds. The branches which arise is exogenous in origin. The stem provides support and bears leaves, flowers and fruits, and it transports water and mineral nutrients through xylem. It transports food prepared by the leaves to all the other parts of the plant through phloem. These are the primary function of the stem. But sometimes, other than the primary function, the stem changes its form, that is the structure and function, and such functions are called as secondary functions and they attain modification. And the modification will help in storing the food material, and it also helps in perennation, it helps in photosynthesis, and it protects and it supports. Now, when we see the stem modification, it can be broadly studied under three subheadings. One, underground modification, the second one, subaerial modification, the third one, aerial modification. In underground modification, we are going to see about the rhizome, example ginger, bulb, onion and garlic, corm, Colocasia, tuber, potato. And subaerial modification we can see under runner, sucker, stolon and offset. And aerial modification we are going to look into tendril, thorn, Phylloclade, Cladode and Bulbil. Now, when we see underground modification of stem, the first one is the rhizome. You all would have seen the ginger, and if you have seen the ginger, you can find that there are nodes and internodes and the scale leaves are there. So, the rhizome is an underground stem which grows horizontally with several tips. It possesses nodes and internodes covered by the scale leaves. Here the food is stored. So, this kind of modification is for storing of food material. Corm is a succulent underground stem which is surrounded by scale leaves and exhibit nodes, and example is Colocasia. Bulb is a condensed convex stem surrounded by fleshy scale leaves. Example is Allium cepa. You all would have seen that when you open the onion, you can find a convex stem which is surrounded by fleshy scale leaves. And tuber is a globose stem with axillary buds which you will find what we call it as eyes. When we look into the aerial modification, here you can find Phylloclade, which is a green flattened stem which is an adaptation of a xerophyte which performs photosynthesis. And this stem is modified to perform photosynthesis, and the leaves are reduced to spines, and these leaves will reduce transpiration. And cladode is the one which is having a flattened cylindrical stem with one internode long, and the leaves are reduced to scales. So, this is an example of asparagus is an example for cladode. And sometimes the stem is modified to thorns, and these thorns are nothing but woody and sharp pointed modified stem. Either the axillary bud or the terminal bud gets modified into thorns, which you can find in citrus also, asparagus, Bougainvillea and citrus you can find. And bulbil is a condensed axillary bud which helps in vegetative reproduction, which you can find in oxalis and onion. In the picture, you can see at the base of the petiole, there is a small condensed axillary bud, that is what we call it as a bulbil. And when we see the subaerial modification, where the weak stems which branches which lie horizontally on the ground and they are meant for vegetative propagation, you call it as subaerial modification. In this we are going to see a runner. A runner is a slender prostrate branch which creeps on the ground, and from the nodes you will find the roots arise. And example, grass. And stolon is a slender branch which originates from the base of the stem, which grows obliquely. It produces a loop which you can see in the picture, a loop, and it bends, it touches the ground and it produces roots. And this is what we call it as a stolon. Example, strawberry. So stolon is nothing but a slender branch which produces a loop and touches the ground and produces roots. And in chrysanthemum, you will see that the sucker which develops from an underground stem and grows obliquely upwards, you call it as a sucker. You can see in the picture there, the lower part of the stem which is underground, which grows upward obliquely, you call it as a sucker. And offset is similar to the runner, but it is found in aquatic plants which is having rosette leaf forms. And here we will find that a short thick lateral branch which will arise from the lower axil, which runs for a short distance and produces a rosette leaves and a cluster of roots, you call it as an offset. And this we will find in Pistia and Iconia. So in this picture, you can see all the modifications at one glance, that is the underground modification of stem, where you will find the rhizome, example ginger, corm, colocasia, bulb, onion, and the tuber potato. And in aerial modification of stem, you will find in Opuntia cactus the thick fleshy succulent stem which performs photosynthesis, and the leaves are reduced to spines for transpiration. And cladodes are also flat, but they are only one internode long, and we can find in asparagus. And the thorns, which you will find in Bougainvillea and citrus, and it is a modification of the stem, and the tendrils which help in climbing. And subaerial modification, you will find runners which creeps on the ground, and the lower base of the stem from the node you will find that the roots arise. And the stolon is the one which is having a loop, and in sucker you will find an underground stem which grows obliquely above. And the offset is a form of a runner, but you will find in aquatic plants where the slender part of the stem runs, and then you will find that the rosette leaves arise and the cluster of roots arise at the node. So these are the modifications of the stem. In the next class, we will study about the leaf and its modification. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha.